In this video, I'll be talking about the sounds of English, or rather teaching the sounds of English. So what is pronunciation? Pronunciation is the way a letter or word is said in order to create meaning. And hopefully, when we do say that letter or word, we say it in an understandable and appropriate way. Unfortunately, we don't always pronounce words the same way that they're phonetically laid out. For example, the word butter. B-U-T-T-E-R phonetically is butter. But as an American, I take away those T's and I add a D, right? So I say butter. How about the word night, which is a bit of a phonetic nightmare, right? N-I-G-H-T. What's that? It's nowhere near night, right? And then I'm going to eat a pizza often comes out sounding like I'm going to eat a pizza. I'm going to eat a pizza. So what we say and what we hear is not always the same as what it's spelled. Also, the way we speak is not universal. So we all have our own sounds. Every language has its own sounds. So there's all these different sounds, and sounds that we use in English you may not use in your language, and vice versa. But not only that, even within regions that speak English, we pronounce things differently. So let's go back to that word butter. As an American, I say butter. I pronounce the but I don't pronounce the t. Whereas a British person will pronounce the t, but they won't pronounce the They'll say more of an ah sound. Like, my English accent is very terrible, but something like butter, butter. And the same with water. Whereas I will say a D, water, they will say water, water. Then we have I can't cook. For an American, it's all up here. I can't cook. Whereas a British person would say, I can't cook, I can't cook. So even within English-speaking regions, it's not universal, the way we pronounce things. So this can be very frustrating. Can be frustrating to teach, can be frustrating to learn. I used to work as a teacher trainer, and I would have people from all around, the world, especially UK, Australia, America or North America, and then non-native speakers of English as well. And there was always confrontation when we were teaching phonics, right? Just because of the frustration that people felt about the different way we speak. But good pronunciation is necessary for effective communication. It also helps to increase a student's confidence level. They feel more confident if they feel that they can speak appropriately. So good pronunciation is not just sound, but actually it's sound and rhythm, something we call prosody. But one thing we do need to be aware of as teachers is we don't need our students to sound like natives. In fact, if we're teaching older students, it's virtually impossible to get that native-like sound without intense training. So as a teacher, if you're a non-native speaker teaching pronunciation, you also don't have to have native-like proficiency. If you are nervous about your pronunciation, of course, you can rely on the videos from YouTube, or the series you're using will probably have some audio files, things like that. But definitely don't avoid teaching pronunciation just because you don't speak like a native. So what are the approaches for teaching pronunciation? We have three main approaches. The first is imitative. So the teacher models, students repeat. So that includes drills, usually focusing on individual sounds or words. Analytical. So teacher explains how to make the sound, what to do with the mouth, what to do with the tongue, what to do, where the sound is originating from. Does it have air or does it not have air? And this is done through IPA graphics, which we'll look at in a second. So teacher explains it, students analyze the sound. And then integrative, where we see sound as part of a larger system. This is the more of a communicative approach. It's not an isolated sound approach. More of a top-down as opposed to a bottom-up approach. So which one is best? Well, all of them. You need a combination of all of these. Actually, when I started teaching, the approach that I was always given was integrative. We don't want to isolate these sounds. We don't want to do bottom up. We want to have a big picture. But since that period, we've come to understand that actually these other methods also bring good results. And when we use all three of them together, that's the best. So let's look at one example for the imitative, analytical, and integrative approaches. So here's a drill for B, as in big. So teacher will just say bat. Students will say bat. Butter. Butter. Because. Because. You get the idea, right? Teacher says it, students repeat it. For analytical, let's become aware of the B sound. So I push my lips together, blocking the air, and I'm voiced, so I need to have some vibration here. And then I go B, B. So in an analytical situation, I'm going to point out all of these things to the students. And then for my integrative approach, I'm going to have an activity. I'm going to shop for B's and P's, because B and P can sound similar, right? So I'm going to shop for beets and bananas and berries or beans. So this is just putting the B sound within the scope of a larger picture.
Let's look at some tools for analytical teaching now, because these can be really useful for your classroom.
First is the IPA table. The IPA table uses these symbols to represent the letters, right? Some people love using the IPA, some people don't like it. Pick which one you really like. This is actually one of my favorites. Pick one that you like, try it out, see how you feel about it. So what this does is that you have all of the sounds of the English language are represented here, because we know that there's a few ways to write, there's a few ways to make the oi sound, for example, OI and OY, but there's only one symbol for it here. The graphic depiction of your tongue and mouth. Like I said, some people like certain ways, some people don't. Actually, this way, I don't like teaching this way at all. It makes me a bit crazy when I see this, this picture, but some people love it. So try it out, see if it works for you or not. You can see here that we're working on the sound. So the causes a vibration here. The tongue is here. The. Another way is to use the mouth to show pictures of what the mouth is doing. Now, I'm a big fan of using my own mouth and getting students to copy me. So, for example, if I'm doing that the sound, I'm going to ask the students to actually stick out their tongues. And I'm going to walk around and say, where's your tongue? If I can't see your tongue, it means you're not making the sound appropriately. So, the. I'll also ask the students to, touch their throat, the. So this one I love. And then we have this one, which I don't know if you can see it so well, but basically it says where your tongue should be, whether your tongue should be in the front or in the back, whether your mouth should be closed or open. So for example, eat. My tongue is in front, my mouth is slightly closed. Whereas for the word matter, my mouth is wide open and my tongue is kind of in the middle. So this can be a useful tool as well. So what is a limiting practice for pronunciation? I think a really big one is only using one approach. So if I'm doing drills every day, the student's very comfortable, right? Because they just listen and repeat, listen and repeat. They don't have to think. They don't have to worry about sounding that correct unless you're making them do it individually. But if they're in a big group doing a choral drill, they're very comfortable, right? But I don't feel that they're learning so much. So try, like I said, to use all of these different approaches. Don't focus just on the individual sound. Try to see big words, the sound within the words, how the words relate to one another, and how the sounds change when you're using the words. For example, if I'm just focusing on the T sound, and then I'm using the word butter, it's a bit of a contrast, right? So don't just focus on individual sounds, but what happens to that sound in different contexts. Don't just focus on beginning sounds over other sounds. Look at the sounds in the middle, look at the ending sounds. All these sounds are important. And don't limit your time to 2 or 3 minutes out of every unit, right? So of every unit of your textbook or your program. Because there's usually a very limited time allotted to pronunciation, but pronunciation needs to be an ongoing practice. So what are my best practices for teaching pronunciation? I just talked about the limiting practices, so what are the best practices? First, scheduled and as needed pronunciation practice. So I want to schedule something. I want to use that textbook, 5-minute exercise or 3-minute exercise, but I want to carry that out further, right? Extend it into other parts of my class. I want to use both recorded and live sounds, if possible. Don't be too afraid to speak, Don't be too shy about your own pronunciation. I need to focus on sound and rhythm. And I need to focus on sounds in context of words as well as in relation to other sounds. So I'm going to use New World as an example, how you should be paying attention to the sounds students are learning and focus on those when you are doing the teaching, right? So first of all, when I open up the page, I see this one is about food. I see lots of lovely food with some vocabulary. So which sounds are students going to encounter on this page that are going to be difficult for your students? So I'm thinking here of the Thai student. What's going to be really difficult? And I look and I say, this one is very challenging, right? Shh and r are both very challenging, right? So shrimp is a very, very challenging word. So that's going to go on my list. Sh, that sh sound. Anything else? Bean soup. So B can also be a challenging sound for my student. And also the p sound at the end of soup, right? The Thai students sometimes will drop the ending consonant. So sometimes it will sound like bean soup, bean soup, bean soup. So I picked these sounds, the shra and the p sound. And then I look at my next page. Oh, what's difficult here? My ch is a difficult sound for Thai students, right? And also the st sound in pasta. pasta. Fish, I have the SH sound here again. And then I have the J, orange, apple, J. So all of these words all of these sounds I'm adding to my list. That these are the sounds that my students are going to have problems with in this unit. One more page, and this is my talking page, right? So let's see, what are the words? Ah, I see a S in the middle of the word. And then again with the ch. Anything else? Okay. The t sound at the end. The t. So let's see. There I have it. Here are all the sounds that I found that I think my students are going to really suffer with, or it's going to be challenging for them. Luckily, the series has already thought of some of these sounds, right? And it's going to actually focus on ch and sh, which are two sounds that are going to be challenging for your students, as we already saw. So,
page 33, pronunciation. Listen and repeat. Notice the sounds for CH and SH.
Cheese,
cheese,
Chicken,
chicken,
fish,
fish,
dish.
dish. So that's the exercise. You may need to add some analytical information to that, right? So how do I make the ch sound? How do I make the sh sound? What am I doing with my mouth? What am I doing with my lips? Am I having any vibration? Is there any air coming out? What's going on? So it's up to you to add some of that information. So you can go back and use that IPA chart. You can go back and use the graphic depiction of your mouth or your throat, all that kind of good stuff. Bring that stuff into play, because the integrative stuff, as I've shown you, is already there. So this is your integrative approach, and you can bring in the sounds that if you want to focus on the cheesecake here, as well as whatever you find, you can focus on here, bring it out in a real life context. And then it's also followed up in the conversation. So if you look, you'll find that the ch sound is there. We've got the sh sound somewhere. The ch sound again, Chinese, shrimp. All of these sounds will come up again. So you see, even with the series, we've already got that mix of imitative and integrative, and then you can bring in some of that analytical as well to make it a complete lesson for your students.